Good afternoon, everyone. We are going to take things a little bit out of order today, in that we will take our special meeting first, and then we'll go to housing. So I will call to order the October 8th, 2019 special meeting of the Glendale City Council. May we have roll call?
Councilmember Agajanian.
Present.
Devine.
Here.
Quintero.
Here.
Garpetian.
Here.
Mayor Najarian.
Here. May we have your report?
The agenda for the October 8th, 2019 special public meeting of the City Council was posted on Thursday, October 3rd, 2019 on the bulletin board outside City Hall.
Thank you. And what's our first item?
First item on this special meeting agenda is the Mayor's commendation to Glendale Water and Power.
Ms. Beers?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, if I can ask Mr. Steve Zern to come on up. And as he's walking and making his way up here, as you are aware, on July 23rd of this year, we experienced a catastrophic failure at one of our substations, the Ross Moines substation at Glen Oaks and Jackson. Something that what we experienced was something that we've never seen in the history that I've been here with the City of Glendale, or Mr. Zern, or I think anybody in the department. And the cascading effects of that catastrophic failure was something that the folks in GWP had to deal with for some time to come, and that did take over a month to get all the fixes in. So this afternoon, we wanted to make sure, Mr. Mayor, based on your request and Council's request, to really recognize the men and women of GWP who made sure to work tirelessly to make sure that the lights are on in the City of Glendale, so that services can be in order and folks in their homes can have services to whatever it is that they need based on electricity. And of course, it was during one of the hottest times of the year. And so we're here to say a huge thank you to the men and women and let them know how much we appreciate all of the work that they did. Some folks working many hours and not wanting to go home, even though they needed to get some rest based on safety concerns, et cetera. But their dedication, loyalty, professionalism, and their desire to want to provide their services to this community cannot be compared to any other jurisdiction. And so with that, I would hand it over to you, sir, or Mr. Zern.
Mr. Zern.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I won't go on. Ms. Beers did this a very great presentation, and as you know, I won't belabor the point. I gave you all a presentation a couple of weeks ago on what occurred. All I can say is thank you to you, Mr. Mayor, and to the council for recognizing the staff. Some of which is behind me, believe it or not. There are still a number of folks who were integral in this who weren't able to make it today. This is a great representation. And they are just, the work they did is phenomenal. And as Ms. Beer said, tirelessly, from call centers being set up on weekends to a crew who worked 24 hours to pull cable. They didn't actually go home to rest. They just sat down and took a rest and went back to work to finish the job. And I can't say enough about them. And I'm very proud to be part of this department, and thank you again for this honor. And as far as for the presentation, not to me, but I'd like to bring Rigo Orozco, the electrical superintendent, up to accept that, and all of his staff and the staff of the various sections within GWP who were just instrumental in this whole effort. So
what, first, let me just say that we, the entire City Council, deeply appreciate the work under extreme duress conditions that the entire department was under, especially those directly involved with dealing with the outages and the explosions and the rewiring and the waiting for the parts to come in and the conductor installation. They make you look good.
They do.
So you should take them out to a steak dinner or something, or have a barbecue for them, something like that. Because it's, keeping the lights on, the electricity flowing is a critical obligation of the city. And it's just not, it's not an easy thing to do. Conditions change, parts wear out, things blow up. And the way that your team performed is really exceptional. So we're very proud of that. And I think residents that know the whole story of what happened and how the men and women took to the field to remedy the situation over a period of weeks is truly appreciated. I'm going to ask each of my colleagues to give them a chance to make a remark, and then what I'm going to do, well, let's do that first. Let me start with Ms. Devine.
Okay, well, I'll keep it short. You know, you are invaluable to I know our residents. There have been occasions when I've seen you out there working in the rain. I remember last year in that storm, that big storm, and right down below me there was a power line down, and the hillside was down, and you all came out and were so pleasant and so nice to everyone, and that seems to be the MO for all of you. You're just fantastic. I appreciate what you've done, and I just can't thank you enough. You are appreciated not only by me in this council, but by, I think, all the residents in our community for the service that you deliver. Thank you so much.
Mr. Agajanian?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your hard work, and I appreciate what you have done during this outage, and hopefully this will not gonna happen, but however, thank you.
Mr. Quintero?
Yeah, I agree with everyone, including Ms. Beers' comments. And I just want to add, sometimes, you know, it's kind of easy to forget what it is that it takes to keep a city lights on and waste picked up, et cetera. And it's obviously all of the public sector workers that have pretty much dedicated their lives to working in city government. Glendale being a great city to work for. We're very, very cognizant of all the employees and the good job that you do and the years and years that you've worked at these jobs. So I think all of the residents of the city appreciate it, and I know we do.
Mr. Garbettian?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, just to follow up on what Mr. Quintero was saying, Glendale is such a, does my phone, I mean not phone.
It's working.
It works? Okay.
Yes, there was a slight
I
delay.
think somebody's stepping on the wire here.
Is there a lineman in the house?
Since Glendale is such a great city, it's being run well, and it's a reliable city, when things like this happen, everybody's in shock. And I got, I don't know, several phone calls about the power outages and when is it going to come back, and the way you managed it to have, you know, specifically some areas for hour here and hour there. I think there are 5 areas that are rolling this blackouts. The way it was managed was well done, and thank God that no one got injured during this whole repowering or bringing the power back or repairing all these damages, because all of you have families to go back to. You know, this is sometimes we don't understand how dangerous this job is, and you know, when things happen, we want it done now. We want the power back on now, but we also have to realize that this is not an easy job. It's a rough job sometimes, and it's dangerous at times as well. So I want to thank you all for what you do and keeping the lights on. And with that, I know that our residents really appreciate everything you've done as well. So.
Thank you. And I can't help but noticing the T-shirts you're wearing, the IBW Local 18 logos. We appreciate your union leaders, Martin Marufo, Gus Corona, all the way up to Brian Darcy. So, Brian, if you're hearing that, we appreciate everyone's work. So, what I have are several commendations. All of us want to come down and shake hands. So, let me give everyone a preview. We have a commendation for electrical engineering, for customer service department, for the Howard Substation Dispatch, for the Community Outreach Section, for Rigo Orozco, for John Warner, for Catherine Babachanyan, and for the Underground Overhead Electrical Construction Team and station electricians. We're going to come down we're going to announce each group again, and we'd like you to come up, and we'd all like to shake your hand and give you the commendation. And Rigo.
Yes, sir.
Right? Would you like to say a few words before
Sure,
we all come
sure.
down?
Mayor Najarian, first of all, thank you for allowing me the honor to come up here. But I think you hit the nail right on the head. It's these people back here that make us look good, and they do what we do. This is how we're wired to do our job and keep the lights on, and thank you.
Thank you. Let's go down, ladies and gentlemen. So the first group we'd like to call up is electrical engineering. Is there a, and you know who you are. I know there's some overlap on some things, but since you're the engineer, you can be the one Congratulations.
Is it working?
Yeah, it is.
Congratulations. Good job. Good job, you engineers. Is there a secret handshake for the engineers first? That's right. It's a shot. Congratulations. And the next is the customer service department. Ms. Devine, if you would. Have the Next is the Howard Substation Dispatch. Thank you so much.
There's only a few of us. The other guys are working for our shift. That's right.
Come on, get in the middle, get in the middle, get in the middle.
Thank you. There's some more.
Next is the Community Outreach section. Mr. Karpetyan. Okay, well, I'll give you another one. Okay.
If you're not there, I'll take it all.
Okay, well, here's one especially for Rigo Orozco. And another individualized for John Warner. Is John here? He's working, okay. Catherine Babakhanyan. Congratulations. Very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
The Underground Overhead Electrical Construction Team. Councilmember Devine has a thing for linemen, so you're her favorites. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for keeping it all happy. Turn around, guys. Get up front.
Sorry, guys, can stay in the back, they're so tall.
And the last commendation I have is for the station electricians. Thank you. Thanks for your work. Thanks for your work.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Is there anyone else in the audience? Well, let's take this picture first. The station electricians. Thank you. Is there anyone else with GWP whose job didn't fit in neatly into one of those categories? Please come forward. We want to shake your hand too. Everyone else? Steve? Steve Zern? Are the test technicians here? The commendation will be coming, and the substructure folks. Anyway, congratulations. Come on. There you go. Thank you. Thank you for the work.
Come on, you're in the middle. You're all by yourself.
Great. All right. Thank you, everyone. Well, that was great. Thank you all for coming. And I know we always, while this was going on, we always said we really have to thank our employees who are making the repairs and keeping us out of the dark. So it's great that we were able to do this. And we're going to move on to other business. You can sit and learn how we're going to design Fremont Park. But if not, I'll pause and give you a chance to leave the room if you wish. Okay, let's move on to the next item.
Item 2 is Director of Community Services and Parks regarding Fremont Park Renovation Project. 2A is a resolution adopting plans and specification number 3624, and directing the city clerk to advertise for bids. B is a motion authorizing the city manager to execute an amendment to the existing professional services agreement contract number 106224 with David Volz Design Landscape Architects, Inc. to increase the contract price by $230,000 and $230,044 for a total not to exceed amount of $1,104,876 for bidding and construction assistance services as part of the Fremont Park renovation project.
Thank you. Ms. Beers.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council, this afternoon we are here before you to provide some information related to the Fremont Park renovation project. As we have gone off to work on this project since the end of 2015, we wanted to make sure that the City Council has an update related to the Fremont Park renovation project based on the fact that we received feedback, direction, approval from City Council, again, at the end of 2015. This serves as foundationally as a reminder of what was brought forward at the time in terms of this renovation project. Also to request a couple of items related to Fremont for us to be able to move forward, as well as the need for us through the capital improvement project budget during budget season, not today, the need for additional funding to be able to complete this project. So with that, I'd like to ask Onik Bulanikian, Director of Community Services and Parks, to provide you the presentation, and we have a PowerPoint that you all have as well. So with that, Mr. Bulanikian.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Najarian, members of the council. Fremont Park.
On the side. Very good.
Okay. So Fremont Park is located 600 West Hahn, thank you, south of Glen Oaks Boulevard or west of Pacific. It's a 7.9 acre neighborhood park, and it's actually the oldest park that was built in 1922. The last time the park was updated was in 1988. So the current park feature that we have now is 8 tennis courts, a children's play equipment area, a wading pool. We have a tennis concessionaire, open play, open space area, a playground, and we also have one small restroom, a number of picnic tables. The facility is used both for active and passive recreation. We do have a children's play area with a wading pool. So back in 2015, part of the master plan, we had 2 community meetings. We had one on April 11th, 2015, and the second one in May 27th of 2015. Both those meetings, we had approximately 60 residents that attended both those meetings. The residents basically wanted for a community building area, some a soccer field, updated water play feature area, brand new playground, pickleball courts. Believe it or not, we have a number of facilities in Glendale that we've transformed into pickleball. The pickleball community is a growing community, so we're adding a pickleball court, and we're also adding an additional 1/2 basketball court. The plan was approved by the Parks Commission November 16th, and then we came to council in December of 2015 for the master plan approval. So the Fremont Park master plan, this is what it's going to look like. We're going to keep the 8 tennis courts. We're actually going to move 4 tennis courts, but we're going to continue to have 8. We'll have a U10 soccer field. We'll have a playground area, water feature area with spray toys and water spraying out instead of just having a wading pool. We'll have succulent landscaping, drought tolerant landscaping, and we're also adding a number of parking spaces. We currently have 35 parking spaces there. We'll add an additional 35, totaling of 70 parking spaces. So new features will include, excuse me, a community building, a little under 3,400 square feet. The community building will include both men and women's restroom with a number of stalls. We'll have a meeting room, a small little kitchenette for events, parties, contract classes, meetings, and so on. We'll have an artificial turf soccer field, splash pad, benches, tables, picnic area. We'll have additional shade structures, drinking fountains, like I mentioned earlier, pickleball court, and also outdoor fitness equipment. We'll have a station where we'll have 9 outdoor fitness equipment stations. And then we'll also have 2 areas where we'll make available for the public art component for Art in the Park. And I know Fremont Park, Art in the Park was part of the Urban Art Master Plan. So we're dedicating 2 areas in the park for art. So the renovated features, the 8 tennis courts, 4 of them are going to be renovated and 4 of them are going to be rebuilt. The children's playground area is going to be brand new, rebuilt. We currently have a 5 to 12 and 2 to 5 playground with wood chips. We'll have a brand new playground with pour-in-place rubberized surfacing. New lighting, security lighting is a must in that area for security purposes. Brand new irrigation, restroom structure, picnic tables. So here's a master plan of the parking. We'll be using, we'll be extending Hahn all the way to Glendale. This will add an additional 30 parking spots, and then we'll have the additional 12 spots here at P2 with a total of 78 parking spaces. Building and structures, like I mentioned earlier, we'll have a community building. The maintenance area will be torn down. We'll have a brand new maintenance area for all of our supplies and equipment. A2 is the Model Railroad Club. They're going to get brand new paint. We're going to paint the building fresh coat. A1 will be the community building. We'll have an additional 629 square foot restroom, which is A4. A6, additional shade structures. And then A5 will be a large group picnic shelter with shade structures. So the playground is going to be the space about little over 8,900 square feet. Like I mentioned earlier, we'll have a playground for 2 to 5-year-olds and 5 to 12-year-olds with 8 swings, and also the water feature, which will have the spray toys and all that good stuff that the new water play features have. The active recreation, like I mentioned earlier, we'll have 4 of the tennis courts will be new. We're moving the existing tennis courts and building new one. And then we'll have the outdoor recreation fitness area with 9 stations. And then we'll have the pickleball courts overlaying with the 2 half-court basketball courts. Circulation will have a number of walk paths. We'll have the perimeter 8 feet wide walk path. We have decomposed granite path of 4 feet, and then we'll have the park maintenance and security driveway of 10 feet. Landscaping, as I mentioned earlier, we'll have drought-tolerant planting throughout the park. We'll be moving the current rose garden, and we'll include the rose garden off of Patterson. And then we'll also plant natural turf in the area where L3 is with a new irrigation system. So funding for the project, we currently are funded $11,650,000. We've spent $1,050,000 on master planning, design documents, and construction documents, and staffing. Our construction budget, estimated construction budget, which we'll talk about on the next slide, is about $15,600,000. We're going to need a little under 5.1 million additional in funding. So here's a breakdown of the construction estimate. $12,710,000. Contingency will be 1.2. This also includes utilities, permits, testing, project management, consultant for support services during construction, with a total of $15,667,000.
Do we pay for permits
Yes, we pay for permits.
to the city of Glendale?
To the city of Glendale.
Can we waive those?
That's a policy decision that needs to be,
Considering it's a expenditure entirely for the public good, by the people, for the people.
I think by way of policy, we can. I'm just
Do we
not
want
sure if
to?
we ever have.
The permit fees, though, are for the community development staff, so it would either be paid out of the project or out of the CDD budget. One way or another, we have the cost that we pay.
Rain on our parade. Okay, that's fine.
Question,
Mr. Garbett.
So you mentioned that the permit fees are for community development staff?
Building and safety, that do
Building and
plan
safety.
check.
And how about the project management and construction management? Is there?
project
portion of-
management would be for city project management, a project manager from the Public Works Department, and the construction manager will be a third-party construction management company that Public Works will RFP those services.
I guess it comes out in the wash anyway, right? I mean, it's a debit and a credit.
Yes.
Ultimately, it's even. Okay.
So project timeline, tentative schedule, finalized bid documents, November of 2019. We'll advertise bids, bidding period for 2 months, December, January. We would need additional funding, and we'll use the funding we'll work on funding as part of the budget process, fiscal year 2021. Staff will come back and ask for an additional 5.1 million. If we have the budget, and if the budget is appropriated, the contract will be awarded and executed July through August of 2020. Hopefully, construction will start. The construction period will start July through March 2022. In the report, it states March 2021. There was an error, but we're hoping that the construction will end March of 2020, with an estimate of 80 weeks of construction. If you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer. We do have the design team here, and we also have Public Works here for the construction component of the project.
Just one question I have. Are the Measure S funds eligible to be used in this park project,
Yes,
if we so
yes.
desire? Okay. Mr. Quintero.
In terms of when the park will be back online, can it be a kind of phased-in approach where some part of the project is completed, you're able to use the facilities? I'm thinking of either the soccer field or tennis.
We can phase it, but that's something that Public Works or the design consultant can answer. I know when we talked about phasing about 4 years ago, we were told that it would cost more to
that's
phase out the
obviously-
project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's going to cost more, then I
It'll cost
don't think
much
it's
more.
worth it. But, for instance, I look at the tennis courts that are fairly close to the street. I don't know, just something to think about. It's a long time to be without a park. I drive by there quite a bit, and it's totally used literally every day, every afternoon. It's packed.
As part of this report, we're also asking for an additional $230,000 to amend DVD's contract, so a consultant can help us in bidding and construction assistance.
Any other comments? Ms. Devine?
On the circulation master plan,
Yes.
And H3 is the park maintenance and security drive path. Does that include all of the red areas, the designated areas, cars and police security can drive
yes,
all through the
the-
park and wind around?
Yes, the 10 feet wide area.
Okay, it's all,
When we met, during the master planning, we met with the police department a number of times, and they had requested to have a security drive path so they can patrol the park easily.
so,
get
and
the-
it looks to me like there's one way in. Is there just one way in, or H3? Is that the only, or can they get out?
There's going to be multiple ways in,
Multiple
off of
ways.
Patterson also.
Entrances and
Yes.
exits? Okay, and can you give me an area for the meeting room in the clubhouse that's to be rented out? How large is that, and what sort of activities do you see in that facility?
The meeting room is about 1,700 square feet. We'll have birthdays, baptisms, quinceañeras, contract classes. Sport groups can use the facility for sport meetings, a variety of events.
And it has a kitchen and
It has a
it's all
kitchenette.
fully equipped?
Kitchenette, yes. We have large enough restrooms for both male and female. Female restrooms, we have 4 stalls. Male, we have 2 and 2.
It's a very ambitious plan. Looks like it'll be a beautiful park, beautiful park, wow. Thank you.
We are an ambitious council.
I guess so.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really like what we're doing here, the design. And when this came back to us a couple of times, I voiced my opinion about the soccer field, which, in my opinion, should have been U12 instead of U10, so a larger, members of our community could have used it. So, but it is where it is today. Couple of things. I'm kind of frustrated with the timing of this, not only on this project, most of our projects, and it has nothing to do with staff in general. It takes a long time to get these things done. And I want to find out how can we expedite these processes, because when I look at these timings, in fiscal year 2013-14, we appropriated the funding. We awarded the contract in December of 2014. Then we approved the master plan in December of 2015. And then I think after that we conducted the survey, and probably, if I'm wrong, just correct me, please. I don't know, I'm just going by the report. The survey indicated that we have some underground utilities and sewer lines and everything, and we had to redesign portion of it, and it came back to council again in 2016, and it was approved. So one thing, maybe we should survey it before we start the design process, and I don't know, maybe we've done it, I don't know, I'm just asking. And the other one is from 2016 until today, it's almost over 3 years. And, it's a long time, and we appropriated this funding. The fund sits in an account for 3-4 years. I think we need to find a way to expedite this process in general. And also the fees that we're paying, we need to revisit all of these construction fees and consultant fees that we're paying all together for management and construction management, project management, construction management, consultant support services. It's plus the design of the project is over $2 million, $2.5 million. So I don't know, it's kind of, and the permit fees are $165,000. It's hard to digest all these fees for me. So I think we need to look into all the way we do business and find a way to save money on all of these projects. This is a $15 million project. It's a lot. It's almost 8 acres. I understand that. It's a very large project. I want to see it done sooner than later. And by the time it's done, if everything goes as planned, it will be March of 2021. And from
2022. That was an error on the report, 2022.
That's an error. So 2022. So from the date we allocated the funds, appropriated the funds until the completion is almost 7-8 years, and I want to get it done in my lifetime. So these are things that maybe in the future we have to agendize it to talk about it, or whatever management can take a look at it and see how can we save money on these projects, as well as the timing. Timing is everything. And let me see if I had one. Oh, and that phasing it, as Mr. Quintero mentioned. So coming next year or in 2 years, in 2020, when are you going to come back for $5.1 million?
As part of the budget process this year, so
This year,
June. May, June is one of the budget study sessions.
Okay.
We'll come back and ask for the additional funding.
All right. This is a great design. I'm very, very happy with the design. Especially I like it. And there's a soccer field as well as a water feature. Those two items are very important to me. So with that, Mr. Mayor, I would support the project and move the item if there are no other comments or questions, or after all the comments or questions are made.
I'd like to recognize Mr. Agajanian.
First, I want to ask, the portion of the park where there is this area, covered areas, is that the public will be able to rent the space? Or this is just for the general public who attend?
It's for the general community. We have a large community there, senior community. Overall, they use it. When I pass by there on a Saturday, Sunday, we have a number of birthday parties there. It would be open to the public. As of now, we'd probably do a first-come, first-served basis, similar to what we do at Maple Park.
So it's not that they're going to rent the place
No, we have. as
for
of now,
different
no, we haven't
functions,
decided.
whether it's birthday or other, will not be rented.
If the community requests to reserve the area, then we would make that area a reservable space. But for now, we'll make it first come, first serve.
Okay. The second item I want to discuss is, this is a park that is used by a general public. It's busy, very busy park, basically. And I'm looking at the schedule, tentative schedule. This is like, I don't understand why it should take such a long time to accomplish this. Let's look at, for example, finalized bid documents. Now we are October, and we are saying will be finished in November. Of course, you didn't say when, but still, this is not that giant park or something. Why this, to finalize documents should take such a long time to put it together? And then evaluate bids, select contractor, contract award, February to March 2020, okay. When it says additional funding request as part of budget
Fiscal year.
time of fiscal year 2020 to 2021, April to June, because we are delaying it, or what's the reason? That's when we consider the budget?
That's correct, Mr. Agajanian. So basically, I'll let Mr. Bulinikin answer the initial questions. As it relates to the budget piece, as you know, we come to the City Council between the months of really April, May. So it's April, May, and June is budget adoption. And as part of budget adoption, City Council has the opportunity as well as gives us direction related to capital improvement projects. Now, it doesn't mean that the council cannot give us authority outside of that process. If the City Council wanted to give us authority outside of that process, absolutely, you're able to do so by way of a council report where you would appropriate funds for a particular project. But typically, as part of that budget process, we would come before the City Council for capital improvement projects during that time frame.
You guys presented the budget or estimated cost. So we know what we want to do and what we are approving today. We are approving that this project, we want to do it, right?
Correct.
Then why we are waiting and then decide later So this should be done much faster, in my opinion. If you brought this to us, right now, what we are approving today, let me understand. If the budget, the money which you are requesting, are we approving the money you're asking for?
Mayor Najarian and members of the council, what you're approving today is the specifications for the project, what the project will look like, the construction documents, and also to amend David Volz's contract, who was our consultant, who worked on the master planning and construction documents, amending it and increasing it to $230,000, so he can assist us with bidding and construction component of the project.
I know, but you said,
Those are the two items that we're asking council to approve.
Now, knowing and understanding what, as you said, the entire budget cost is in terms of that estimated construction phase, we know that we have a gap of almost $5.1 million. Absolutely, today we could have requested the city council to give us authority for the entire budget. And I don't know if council can still do that, Mr. Garcia. If they wanted to appropriate funds, we don't have that as part of they can't. We could always come back to the city council prior to the budget process for that appropriation if that's what the council wanted to do, and not wait for the budget process, and to say, yes, we want you to move forward, and yes, we want you to allocate the funds from either capital improvement project funds. We would have to look at what those funds look like, et cetera. That's absolutely within the purview of the city council.
what I was thinking, this is a popular park, and you have mentioned that a little bit earlier, and we know it's a popular park. So why we wouldn't expedite the work, whatever we have to do? Why we are waiting the dates here, February, March 2020, evaluate bid, additional funding request, April to June 2020. I mean, I don't know, it's like as if if we want to do it, let's get on it and do it. Why we are dragging this for a long time?
Mayor Najarian, members of the council, it will take this long to advertise the bids, have contractors, general contractors that are interested, asking staff questions, project management, site meetings, and so on. It'll take about 8 weeks, December to January, to advertise and for them to bid. It is a large project. Yeah,
But you didn't say about finalize bid documents. Why it should go for 2 months?
finalize bid documents, we'll get the packet ready, it'll go through all the departments in the city. By the time we get all the, signatures, it'll take about 4 to 5 weeks.
So here's the question I think that's percolating out. Is the allocation and the appropriation of the funding gap, 5.1 million, through our regular budget process going to delay the completion of this project? I would say no. Okay.
And if it did.
So that's
Right. And if it did, it would be approximately 3 months, at which point we could come to council prior to that and ask for authorization to move forward for the funding gap.
Ms.
But
let
I
me go to Mr. Quintero and then
Okay.
Ms. Devine.
So I think we should just allocate the money. I don't see why waiting makes any sense. One of my questions is Measure S and the funds that are coming in from Measure S. Is there enough money in that, from that source yet, or it hasn't?
Not in the first year.
Not yet.
Councilmember Quintero, not in the first year. Second year, meaning for our next budget cycle, yes, there would be. But our first year allocation, all the funds were appropriated for the first year, so the current fiscal year that we're in today.
There isn't anything available. All right, well, at any rate, I think we should just appropriate the money and get it done. This is something that's sorely needed. The design is great. Let's just move forward. I don't know why waiting for for the budget allocation makes any sense if we've got money in other pockets.
Ms. Devine?
I was just going to make a comment on the timeline. This is a approximate. I mean, some of these steps could move faster, some can move slower. So you're not really pinning it down to exactly 4 weeks or 5 weeks. It's all, when it comes to construction and building, you never know how long things are going to take, and so this is simply an estimate. And is there a reason that an emergency or a reason that we should allocate the $5 million today? Because we really don't need it until when?
First and foremost, you can't allocate it today based on what Mr. Garcia said because it wasn't part of the report. So that's the first piece. If council wanted us to come back sooner rather than later, based on the fact that we are moving forward with this project to allocate the monies, we can. But again, as Mr. Bulanikian said, we will need the timeline approximately in terms of finalizing the documents and advertising and evaluating. We're going to need some months, at least through February, March of next year, to get through that process, at which point that funding piece will come to play. And so whether we do it next week or we do it in March and not wait for the budget process, I think we'll be able to get through that process and start as soon as possible.
Mr. Garpetian.
I just want to add one more thing, that the problem is not from today until July of next year to get everything done and get the documents done and basically start the construction. It could be 2 months sooner or later. The issue that I raised was we started this process from fiscal year 2013-14, and we are pushing October in 2019, and we're still here. So that's my issue. So if we want to expedite everything, I think we need to start from the beginning and see how can we expedite any of the rest of our projects from the beginning, so it won't take this long.
Well, I'm a big fan of budgetary discipline. I would much rather see this the funding come before us during our regular budget process so we can see how all the money is going. Not to mention that it's not unheard of for grants from the county or the state to come into play to help bridge that gap. We may not be eligible for those funds if it's already paid for, if I'm not mistaken, if I understand that. However, I would like you, if we go this route, to delay the funding until the budget cycle. If there is a situation where the project is delayed or slowed or put on hold pending the appropriation of those funds, I would ask that you let us know immediately so we can take steps to unfreeze the project. What I'm hearing is that it's not going to delay the project if we go through our budget process, but it would not be an unheard of situation where things go really quickly, we're ready to go, oh, we have to stop because we don't have the funds. At that point, I think Council has certainly expressed an interest to jump ahead and go outside the normal framework of budgetary process to allocate the funds. So the issue before us, of course, that is not the issue before us today, but adopting the plans and specifications and authorizing an amendment to the professional services contract of David Volz. I do support that. That was moved.
I'll second it.
Seconded, and of course, this isn't the issue that Mr. Garpetian was talking about. He's talking about the years of delay, which I don't want to call it delay, but the many years process in which it took to get us here seems that perhaps for future projects we should be trying to accelerate the whole timeline. And I agree, that's a good point to be made. So I have a motion and a second. Let's take roll call.
Council members Agajanian,
Yes.
Devine,
Yes.
Quintero,
Yes.
Garpetian,
Yes.
Mayor Najarian.
Yes. And that concludes the business on this special agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
The special meeting is adjourned.
So Mayor and Council and Mr. Housing Chair, the next meetings are, we have the housing meeting with a
You want to do
light,
housing?
Yes.
very light agenda.